Great. Perfect timing. Hello, everyone. I'm Steph McLandrich, president of the Multnomah Neighborhood Association. I am calling this meeting to order, and we have a special guest with us today. So I'm going to kick off a lot of our formal meeting stuff later on into the agenda, and want to welcome our special guest, Councilor Zimmerman. Thank you for coming, District 4 Councilor. I don't think you need much more of an introduction than that. Thank you.
Happy to be here. Thanks, everybody. It's always good to go to a meeting that's like 4 minutes from your house, so it's not bad. So I've been making the rounds with the neighborhood associations in the beginning of this year. We were at Hayhurst last night, really from a position of trying to get a good sense and check in with the neighborhoods. As the council enters into its budget season, right? That's I think the biggest and most important thing that the city council does every year to fund what we care about and try to stop the bleeding where we can and to set priorities in terms of policy and what we're working on. So last year I didn't get to do as much of this because I got tapped as the finance chair and we had to figure out how to put a budget together for a brand new government. So I put the neighborhoods on the back burner last year, and this year there's been a change of council leadership, and so I'm not in that role. We don't have that role anymore. So it's allowed me to spend some more time in the evenings getting out in the neighborhoods. And Trevor from my team is here. He's been helping set these up. Some of you I've met at our neighborhood afternoon beers that we're doing, morning coffees, some town halls, as well as going to the official neighborhood association meetings. So that's really from why I'm trying to get out and see folks. And so when I come to these, every neighborhood has a different flavor in terms of how they want to interact. I will tell you a little bit about what I'm walking into budget season wise, and also some things we're working on in the neighborhood, and then happy to open it up and go wherever the neighborhood wants to. Like last year, I was pretty focused on making sure that we improved public safety, improved livability. And so cleanups, not taking cuts on the police force, not taking cuts at the PSR or the fire bureau. Those were really important to me. Those remain really important to me again this year. I'm pretty concerned, as I think a lot of us are, about the affordability matrix, whatever that means for each of us, but that is really pinging for Portlanders right now as pretty concerning, right? Housing is more expensive for us. So where the city can either get out of the way of new developments of housing, particularly, we represent, I've got downtown as well. So where those types of developments are possible and we can get housing more dense down there, we're looking to do that. But I'm also really looking, we passed the levy. For those that voted for it, thank you, appreciate it. We passed the levy for parks in November. So I think we have a commitment to voters to make sure that we don't backtrack on youth sports in the afternoons. Youth recreation is going to be really important to me. That's what I'm looking for. I didn't get into office to start making cuts to kids programs in the first term. But the other side of that is there's a whole lot of back of house stuff that goes on in the Parks Bureau. But what I'm really trying to center is, that user experience, that when you pull up to a park, even if it may not be as programmed as we would like because of budget cuts, it looks like it's been and getting attention, right? It's been maintained. That if there's something broken on a kid's play structure, that doesn't go months without being addressed. That, if there's a park bathroom, that it's not shackled closed with a porta potty next to it, right? There may be no greater example of government failing than putting a porta potty next to a hard stand restroom because we can't get it together to fix the restroom. So those are kind of things I'm looking at, is just trying to, can we meet voters' expectations and needs at the parks when they go? It can be a clean, green space for them and their families. And then particularly for our youth, making sure that we're programming as much after-school activity, pro-social activity. My head is in that direction. So that's what I'm walking into the budget season with. Parks has gone through a lot of transformation this last couple of years. I passed a budget transparency resolution. Parks is going to form their budgets in a different way than the rest of the city, and it is really getting back down to basics. You have to be able to say where or what fund
funds different programs within the parks, meaning general fund, Portland Clean Energy Fund, levy funds, how many employees are funded by each of those. That seems like it should be Basics 101. It is in most cities. It wasn't last year, and so we learned, and so we're going to put them through the ringer. But I think it's going to be a good outcome. I think they're even happy about it, right? They recognize the old system didn't work, and so we're in a new one where everybody works for the mayor now. So I'm looking forward to that because I think it'll help us make better decisions too. Many of the faces in this room I either saw at our beers event the other night, or I saw on neighborhood walks around the village, around the Safe Rest Village. And so we continue to push the mayor's team for some of those, I'll call them the tactical improvements that we were asked for when it comes to the goings on at the Safe Rest Village. And so I've got some areas where I think Portland Solutions is getting ready to make changes, or they're preparing to make changes as we talked about. But I think that visit really was good for the mayor to see, right, and to go through that and have those conversations. For those of you that we went in your backyard, thank you for letting us bring the mayor and show what that experience is like. I think it has helped Olivia and Mitch and I convey the issues with the central office, so to speak. So I'll stop and we can go into any dialogue or questions, however you want to go.
Thank you.
Just starting on the affordable housing issue, I'd like to know what your plans would be to make existing housing more affordable. I mean, we all talk about it would be great to build and that would spur the economy, but those units are hugely expensive, take a long time, and in the meantime, every day, more and more people are being evicted. And that's more houseless people with shelters being closed, right and left.
Yeah.
So
sure.
What's the plan to keep those rents, make them more affordable? Because now they're barely under market value.
Yeah, there's a couple things at play when I think about this question. Are some of the units that have been built by the government or by the nonprofits with help from the government, the way in which they, are regulated affordability is pretty darn close to what market is in a lot of neighborhoods right now. So that's not working. So one thing that we're looking at is there's an ability for us to help, to put it really simply, basically buy down their mortgage to allow them to rent at a lower AMI. I think that will be an initial immediate help.
Would you support that?
I did. I tried to get it passed weeks and months ago. And so I'm still trying to get it passed. There's back and forth with the council and some folks, but I think we'll hit some. I don't know what the size of that package will be. The other part, though, is we've got to get Home Forward's house in order, right? We can't be doing that at the same time. We have articles coming out about upwards to 1,000 vacant units sitting for an average of 6 months vacant. That is a broken system, and I need to deeply understand what the hell is going on there, because you just cannot have vacant apartments for 6 months. Anybody else would lower the rent to make that pencil. So we have some problems structurally with some of the nonprofits who've been supported through this, and I think we need to get real serious before we cut them big checks. But when we do that, I think this will be the reform package to do it. The other side is that some of our non-regulated units, but they are, I'll just call them naturally affordable. And I use Northwest Portland a lot as my example. This is a place that a lot of people over the years have lived because they're some older apartments, they're smaller. A lot of people, it was naturally affordable, but because our capacity, the number of new units coming into the market, it's not good right now. People who have the means to pay for higher rate apartments, because the market is so squished, they're buying and they're renting what would naturally be affordable units, and they're coming up to the market level. And so that's a problem of all types not being built. In 2024, we had a 50% reduction in the permits that were taken out for multifamily. In 25, we had another 50% reduction. I just got a report today that you may be aware we waived SDCs for a 3-year moratorium for housing developments. And in a year when we're expecting another 50% decline, in October, so that's just a few months after we waived the SDCs, we saw a 38% year-over-year growth from the October previously. So I hope that trend holds so we can get some more stuff going.
What's SDC?
Oh, I'm sorry. System development charges. So the easiest way to talk about it is the public infrastructure that has to go in when you have more people in an area. The easiest way to think about it is the pipe that goes to the main pipe for your neighborhood can be really small if there's only 2 houses on it. But if there's 20 houses, that pipe's got to be bigger. That's system development charges in the easiest scope.
And the city would pay for that upgrade, not the developers, which is why the developers pay into that bucket.
Yeah. So most projects, when they're developed, you could think of it as about between $30,000 and $60,000 per door of housing that's created are actually system development charges that the city then uses as we develop public infrastructure, either in that neighborhood or other neighborhoods, as sewers and roads and things like that have to be upgraded, or parks. Those all have some system development charge goes with them. So anyway, I want to be real specific on your question. I want to tackle the existing affordable so that they can go more affordable. And then I think we have to stay on the gas on the build, because the naturally affordable are an important part of the market, and we've squished ours out just because there isn't the middle income as well. So that's a problem, right? Especially for people who are getting started in the neighborhoods. Like, neighborhoods are changing because it's a whole nother demographic who's coming in because that's what's available, and that's really changed the face of neighborhoods. So working there really hard. I'd like to pass that housing funding as soon as possible. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. We're going to ping pong between the
Sure.
group because we have some on
Lisa?
Zoom. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. We've met, and I want to thank you for coming out to the neighborhood with the mayor and the other councilors. I just have a couple questions. The first is, at our CAC meeting today, we talked about budgeting, and what the Safe Rest Village adjacent neighbors really need is increased perimeter patrols by Urban Alchemy. We keep getting told there's no money for that. I'm wondering if you're going to put that on your list for your budgeting.
Yeah.
And also, our ratio of operator to participants is 20-1. That seems to not be working so well. So I'm wondering if you're going to have budgeting money to increase the ratio of operator to participants. And then I see that a few people on here, since I talked to you, we had a big turnout, which I didn't expect, but more people are reaching out to me. And I have a list of people, actually more than ever, to attend these meetings. I have about 35 to 40 people who have been reaching out to me about concerns about the Safe Rest Village. And so I'm just wondering, I know that you're going into a budget situation, and it is much less expensive to operate a low barrier shelter than it is a high barrier. And are you considering that to save money, or converting the Safe Rest Village to high barrier?
Oh, well, I'm in favor of it. I don't know that I've got the mayor's support yet to do it, but I'm in favor of it because I think that with as close to the proximity as the MSRB is to neighborhoods, and that means about 6 feet for a few of our neighbors. So I think that's really important to I'm just fine with it moving to a, higher barrier basically means a cleaner and sober type of place, which is tough for some shelters. But we set up the big task sites, the ones that are further out a little bit, to be low barrier back with the last mayor. I think that was the right call, the right move. And since then, we have certainly had people who have gone to that and said, this won't work for me because it's so low barrier, and I am personally clean and sober, and now I'm around it again. So I think there's a mix of a need. I don't know where the mayor's going to go out on that. But I certainly have told him that I'm interested in Multnomah County or Multnomah Safe Rest Village having that type of standard. But it has to be a mix, right? The shelter continuum takes a mix of some high, some low, and I don't know where he's going to land on that. When it comes to the perimeter and the ratio, I'll put those kind of in the same category when it comes to funding. I think the mayor is, he may know nothing more about me than the fact that my support for his shelters involves support for the neighborhoods and support for the good livability that goes along with the shelters. And that if that is not part of his funding package, then my support for his overall shelter package really diminishes. So what it's going to take to have a better perimeter, or call it kind of neighborhood roaming folks who in other places this has gone well, and why it's broken here. I haven't been able to really figure that out, other than the fact that it wasn't set up originally as a task site, and we have tried to shoehorn an SRV into a task capacity. And I just think that that's been a broken equation. So I'm really trying to get them to put what I would call as a standard package of neighborhood assistance around the MSRV, given how many more it has increased in terms of its pods. I had that conversation again with him today. I have a bi-weekly conversation with the mayor about crafting what I want to see in the budget. That was part of what I've told him.
That was called a neighborhood standard package.
Just kind of the livability standards, or the, Lisa used the term patrol, but Urban Alchemy and other sites has been successful when they address problems in the neighborhood, right? A few blocks in each direction, a number that is actually picked up and addresses problems by the neighbors when something comes. Because what I've learned in a lot of these is that most Portlanders are pretty understanding and forgiving if a thing happens. What really drives them nuts is when a thing happens, they call about it and then nothing is repaired, fixed, addressed. That's what I'm sensing here with this one. And so that's what I'm really trying to get him to use, like what we did at Clinton, and then another one that was up in North Portland. Something has broken here, and I'm really trying. I think our visit, Lisa, was really helpful in kind of highlighting that brokenness, and then getting some of those pods moved further interior away from the perimeter, so they're not right next to certain residences' house and bedrooms. I think that distance is important. I've encouraged them to think about any sort of major vegetation you can put between neighbors and the pods, because that helps with noise. Those are all things that are on the list, so to speak.
All right, Patrick, we have a question in person here.
Okay.
Could I just ask, as a courtesy to everyone on the call, that you identify yourself if you plan to speak?
Sure. My name is Sandy.
Sandy.
I have a couple of questions related to what you've been saying. One is that I work with a group called Southwest Outreach.
Yeah.
We have 40 plus volunteers. We run a shower every week with a hot meal. We do 2 to 3 outreach to camps every week. We have a great deal of support in the community. And I'm concerned that the feedback you're getting and the impressions that you're getting and what you're being exposed to about what's happening in the neighborhood is coming from one group that has a particular perspective. And my concern is that you see all of the perspectives. Yeah. So I'd like to invite you to come out with us sometime on a walkabout.
Yeah. Well, we had our chat just a couple weeks ago too, and I remember.
Well, it was a pretty brief one in John's market.
Yeah.
So we've talked with your assistant. Trying to make an appointment where we can have a more serious conversation. We are, like Lisa and her group, we are concerned about oversight and accountability. Mm-hmm. It is not just an issue related to the neighbors, and we respect the problems that they're having, and think that the city has not provided adequate oversight and accountability for many of the issues that they've raised. And we have one of our members who sat on the CAC and worked very hard and is very sympathetic to that. We are sympathetic. The other angle, though, is the oversight and accountability related to the quality of care that's being provided by UA. And we have consistent complaints from people who are in the MSRV who come to our shower, often because the showers there are so dirty. And also frustration that they can't find caseworkers. Their caseworkers, the turnover is so high, they can't get consistent contact with their bed. And these are concerns that are individually voiced to us at different times, and they echo the concerns that are being voiced from other SRVs run by not just SRVs, but run by UA. So we're concerned about quality. The screaming that happens at night is also an issue of pain and trauma that could be handled by people who are dealing adequately
are trauma informed.
Yeah.
And so we have some questions about that. It's hard to know what's happening because nobody's allowed in.
Yeah.
So for us, it needs to be a broader look at that. In terms of high barrier versus low barrier, we firmly are in with the low barrier.
Okay.
We worked very hard in the Good Neighbor Agreement. There is a clause that allowed us to help people who are living outside locally get priority when they increase the numbers. So a lot of people that were out on the street got into the MSRV, arguably making this a safer situation both for them and for the neighborhood. What we're seeing is those same people, and the people who are the most challenged are the ones that are getting evicted, and they're getting evicted very fast right now.
Yeah.
And so what's happening is you now have people coming out who are now hopeless and angry and frustrated and less stable.
Yeah.
So it's more dangerous for the community.
Yeah.
And the problem with the patrols is that what we're discovering, and we've worked closely, we've met with them, we met with the UA, the manager of the MSRV early on, we've met with their patrols, we've tried to help them, and we have an amenable relationship with them, but we have concerns. They come around to people who are living outside and offer them things like, we can get you into the MSRV, just stick with us, which is not true. You go through 311.
Yeah.
So they get people's hopes up, people get upset and angry. So you have people doing patrols, but presenting themselves as outreach workers. And it's obviously a serious problem.
Yeah.
I can go into more detail on that, but I won't. By providing low barrier, it means that those people are in a place where they can get help. These are the people who need the help the most, not the high barrier. What we've discovered from people that we know went in, who we would describe as high barrier, they're the ones who got jobs, who moved on to some kind of transitional housing or housing. But the people who are low barrier are still struggling. And they need the help that they can get inside a structured setting with support. And unfortunately, the feedback we're getting is that they're not getting enough.
Yeah.
So to us, if we're looking to create a situation in our neighborhood that's safer for everybody, low barrier makes sense.
Yeah. I don't disagree, right? I've been to a lot of shelters over my career and into a lot of them. And as I said, when we set up the first task sites in the city, right, I negotiated the Good Neighbor Agreement with the Brooklyn neighborhood and the Hosford Abernathy neighborhood. And they had some pretty high asks, I'll put it that way. And I said, that's never going to happen, right? Because this is actually designed for the most difficult folks to get them off the street. I have to reflect some of the learning since now a few years on of people I know personally who have gone to one of our large task sites and that they had to get out because of what they were exposed to. And so when I talk about, I think that it's a fabric or it's a network, I mean that. Meaning I don't actually have the belief that all shelters should be high barrier. Right? I fundamentally don't have that belief. Mm-hmm. But I do think a mix of the pods, because shelters are nobody's preferred method. But in the world of shelters, I very much prefer the pods versus the congregate versus the other, right? If I'm going to believe in that, then I believe there has to be a variety of types available. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out, because I'm not just at the Multnomah Village one. I'm across not just District 4, but other city and county ones. What I'm most concerned about in this is that I'm looking for about a $4 million package of funding for outreach workers, because the county will not go and is not funding the outreach workers to city-owned operated shelters. That's a problem. Multnomah County is the human services agency in our community. Until this year, the city of Portland does not have social workers on our payroll, but we've now had to hire some because the county is not doing that part. So I'm looking for a $4 million package for outreach workers that are hyper-focused on one thing: shelter, to apartment or to supported housing situation, and that's the flow out of shelter. It's going to be a lift. We were never supposed to get back into the shelter business as a city, right? That's been the county. It's why the joint office was created 10 years ago, was so that the city would not be in shelter business, that the Human Services Agency, Multnomah County, would be the primary. And then they created a policy that said they were not going to create new shelters in the heart of the pandemic when it just kind of exploded on our streets. And so Portland got back in the business. And I don't think anybody thinks that's preferable. But one thing that has been good is that we've created a hell of a lot more pod shelters across the city, and I think that's helped. I also have a belief that most neighborhoods will take on a fairly large shelter if you address the concerns that come with a shelter. And I think if we can admit that and give them the service, we can open a shelter in most parts of Portland as the need goes up, which is why I care about the stuff that really ticks off neighbors, why I care about the little bits of vandalism that go on, because for the person that happened to, it's a really big deal, and it can be the thing that makes them say, shut the darn thing down. And I think that I want to avoid that. I know, but a lot of times it does come with it. So that's I'm trying to do a system. I'd love to go for a walk. I get it. I live in the neighborhood too, right? I don't go there just when the mayor's on a visit. I went by it again last night, right?
We've got you on the agenda for just a few more minutes. Thank you. I want to get Patrick's question in before we wrap it up here. Patrick.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for coming, Eric. So I have a comment and a question. First is your comment about funding parks, and I assume that includes community centers. And I hope with a new structure, as you describe it, would mean that community centers and parks would not have to go hat in hand every year to the city council and beg for ongoing funding, which has happened at the Multnomah Arts Center. It's happened at Selwood Community House, swim centers, other parks, and it's just a ridiculous revolving door of constant asks and threats of defunding, and it's not very good for the community.
I agree.
My question pertains to the previous comments. The overnight shelter mandate that the mayor advocated for, and I think has achieved, was basically sold with the idea that there would be increased enforcement of anti-camping rules, drug use, that kind of thing. And it seems like that part of the equation has really lagged behind. I don't know if it's a reluctance, a philosophical, ideological reluctance to do it, or capacity, but if you look at the unsheltered population and stratify it, there is a core minority of people that will never get into a shelter, don't want housing, and do, I can think that we can be honest, do engage in some illegal activities. Why can't we focus on those core bad actors that could be a small percentage but have a large impact on not only neighborhoods but also other people that are living on the street or in shelters, and take care of them either with jail, I'm going to say it, or court mandated rehab, or civil commitments, that kind of thing. I think the biggest problem that we see is coming from a very small minority of people, and you can't just treat everybody like they're just down and out and looking for an apartment. There's a lot of people that need more, and I think if you took care of those people, the rest of us and the rest of the unsheltered community would be a lot better off.
So it's a mix. Couple things are at play in that, and I think about a lot, right? There are certainly people who are homeless who are not ready for an apartment. And 5 years ago, some of the providers of housing kind of would have been put off the island if they'd said that out loud, but they're now saying that out loud. In fact, some of them that are nearby, they say, Multnomah County has made us take certain clients who their impact then when they're in the building has been so detrimental, they either, they can ruin the stack of the units below them, or that they're so disruptive, it becomes a problem. So that is being talked about because some folks are not ready. I view the pod villages as one of those get ready steps. And so I think that's very important. The reason I bring that up is that we are spending a lot of time in the most acute situation in what should be a behavioral health conversation, what should be an addictions health situation. And when you are last in the nation for access to both of those types of things, we're spending a lot of money because actually from the poverty perspective, right, if we have a person who is purely facing homelessness only on poverty issues, we have a lot of things in place that generally when we get connected with that person, that family, that will work. So I keep that in mind a lot because the acute group is extremely expensive and the outcomes are extremely poor compared to the acute, but it's, it's too many kids with them to be able to hold the apartments because the apartments have gone gangbuster in their rents. It's wild what it costs right now for a family. It's not lost to me. Going to the enforcement part, it might not feel like the enforcement is going. I know that the mayor has started since November enforcement. I think the area you probably are sensing it if you really look around is that the RV camping issue has significantly changed since 2 years ago. The number of RVs that are being towed and many of them destroyed is a lot. It's a lot. If you're not aware, it's very expensive once you have an RV to get rid of it. And all RVs kind of suck after about 10 years in the weather. And it is not unusual for a Clackamas County RV owner to just drive it across on 82nd, leave the keys in it, pop out, and now you don't have a problem. It's to the point we're now talking about a fee at purchase of an RV in Oregon so that you can just take it to the dump and have it disposed of at no cost because you paid that cost up front.
And
right?
boats.
What's that?
And boats.
And boats. Not as many people are living on boats in Portland, but it's exactly the same problem. There are some. I had one underneath my underpass. I know. But the RV thing is huge, and the mayor has put, I campaigned on it, you guys. The mayor has put a lot at that, and I appreciate it because the RVs were a lot more than just camping. RVs were everything you can think of under the sun because they got the protection of being a domicile. And so there was a lot of stuff that would go on, and it really rippled into the neighborhoods. So from that perspective, Patrick, there has been more enforcement. I know that it might not always feel like it, but I think the numbers do speak for themselves. Not feeling it tells you just how many or how much was not happening, I think, previously, and that really is. And I know that that's why the mayor has stayed on that numbers because he thinks enforcement is important. I think enforcement is important also for everyday Portlanders. Expect some level of we live in a civil society together. We've got to have some accountability. And it allows us to take a look at and be more connected with people and really challenge this idea of I don't want to go to a shelter. I think that has to be a challengeable assumption that was allowed to grow for too long, frankly, but it also means we have to have a variety of shelters available. And then a lot of people who are, the mayor has instituted, I don't remember the name, but basically if somebody is from another place and they have a contact back at home, like we buy people's plane and bus tickets a lot if they want to go home. That happens. If they're from Arizona and they want to go back to Arizona, we do that because people get stuck here for whatever brought them here. And there were a lot of people who got stuck here because they came when the Measure 110 freedom occurred, right? And that is working itself through the pipeline right now. So all those are at play. I think that on whole, I'm feeling better about the neighborhood livability across the city. And I say that with full recognition that there are some pockets who are really, really still struggling. That's not lost on me at all. But I hear you, Patrick.
I got permission to give one more question.
It's a parks question.
Okay, real quick. And then
comment.
And then I'm going to call him back.
Yes, I will do
And
1
then
minute.
that will be the last
It's
question.
more food
Okay.
for thought. But hi.
Hi.
I'm Sarah Dodge. I'm the
You were on last
communications
night.
chair. I just moved to Hayhurst, so I'm double dipping. But I'm also co-chair of Friends of Spring Garden Park, if you've been to our park. Yes, and for the last 3 years, we have hosted stewardship events in the park with our horticulturists. And even last year, we hosted 21 events, 228 volunteer hours.
Wow.
It's a lot of free maintenance to the park, but also beautification projects, weeding, planting. There's a lot of ecosystem in the park. Last week, we heard that our horticulturist position is getting eliminated. We cannot host these events without her.
She's a Parks employee?
She's a Parks employee. It's happening in July, so it's not like next week, but her position brings a lot of value. We are one of 12 parks that she looks after.
Yeah.
So I get the like mowing the lawn and stuff is important at the bare minimum, but I leave you with that in terms of the impact to the community and to the park. Without her role, we just can't continue to offer this.
It's unfortunate that was said, and I say it this way because no one's released anything yet, and so I don't know what the mayor's going to propose.
Okay.
So I don't know. So that employee has obviously been given some heads up of something, but we really don't know until we know. And I appreciate this. I'm taking that back. In terms of the recreation piece, like that falls in that category of the things that I think are very front focused with our public. And I don't want to sugarcoat what this next few months will feel like for Portlanders as they read either news or articles. Like, we are facing about $170 million worth of services that happened this current year that we don't have the revenue to do next year. In terms of our general fund, service levels about $912 million, and we're in the 700s in terms of what we're expecting for general fund. So we're going to have some terrible cuts come our way, and so thank you for sharing that. It's going to be very rough. I will not be able to protect everything. I guarantee it. I'm also trying to make sure that fire station 10 and 18 are not closing. Right, these are real things that I'm facing in terms of the budget.
Sure. But
I hear you, and I'm sorry that employee is already having to face that conversation. That's terrible.
All right, last question is for Beth, and thanks for staying extra long.
Hi, Beth.
Hi, Councilor Zimmerman. I'm Beth Omansky, and I am on the D4C board, which has nothing to do with the question I'm going to ask you, but just letting you know that's where I am. And I'd like to know quickly, I hope you can answer this quickly since it's a big question. What's your opinion of the social housing model?
Yeah, I'm interested. I believe firmly to my core that there are people in the community who are never going to be able to take care of rent. And our current system kind of relies on you always have to take care of some level of rent, and we move it accordingly. I think we should also be looking at if the city or the county, if we own certain housing assets, like a lot of buildings, you have a maintenance reserve for that. If a client or a resident gets rent assistance in some form, that's fine, it helps. But I think we have to admit that there are people in the community, and it's probably, if you bell curved it, I bet it's similar across a lot of communities. If you're about this big, you expect this many people are always going to have to be kind of taken care of in their housing perspective. So from that perspective, I'm very fine with it, and I'm pursuing to see where some of the groups on council want to go with the social housing. I think, unfortunately, the term social housing has gotten some weird media coverage and some public coverage, just given the politics of the topic. I think that if there are a group of people who want to rethink how they do co-op ownership and those types of models is perfectly fine. I don't know that we are going to be the agent that starts that as a government, but I think enabling it, if they want to do a co-op kind of situation, I'm pretty comfortable with that. But where I really think that the bang for the buck for the city will be is going back to our very first question about affordable housing units that are being rented at market rate. I think we have to question, why are we in that system of taking the SSI check from certain members of our community when we know that based on, oftentimes because of health reasons, they're always going to need to be supported by government if they're not supported by family. And so I think that's social housing. And we can maintain it like we do other buildings that are in the portfolio, and just just know that it costs X number of dollars to maintain, these. If every district in Portland had a few really deeply affordable, deeply supported housing, I think I'm comfortable with it. I think it makes sense. I think it's where we're going. I don't love that we do all of our affordable housing in Portland and in Multnomah County with nonprofits, but they rely on investors, which means when they can't rent at a certain number, they won't rent it. And so I'm sorry, I just find the vacancy issue really damning. So that's why I'm onto it. All right. And it's one of those that I don't know that social housing topic has to be a political spectrum topic. I think it deals with our most vulnerable topic as well. So that's where I'm open to it, Beth.
Okay, great. That's a great answer, and I agree with you, and I thank you. I want to thank you very much for your service to our community.
It is my pleasure, you guys. I love coming to these, by the way. Thank you for having me tonight.
Yep.
It is, it's a great honor to get to represent your neighborhood at a place like City Council, even on the days when I want to scream. So I am thanks for sending me there. I hope you send me there again, but it's great. And Trevor's available. I'm available. We really try to tackle the especially the little things that pop up for a neighborhood and you get stuck on. Let us help. We want to help.
All right. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, everybody. I'm going to go take Trevor out for a beer in the neighborhood. He never had a beer in Multnomah Village. So.
Oh, there you go.
We need to know where you're going to go.
Yeah.
Well,
John's Market.
We've done John's Market, but we're either going to do Proper Pint or Renters. So
Just go peek in. We'll try not to go too long.
if you see me at Proper Pint, say hi because I usually go in there alone and love a conversation.
Thank you so much.
Bye, you guys.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for carving out some time.
Great. Thank you. All right. We are going to go straight to approval of the agenda. Does anybody have new business to add to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. Off to the minutes. Are there any, Julie, you posted the meeting minutes from last month?
I did.
Okay. Are there any corrections to the February minutes?
January minutes needed approval as well. Some corrections or some modifications to the motion needed to be made, which were done. I was asking for Tad's approval.
Great. Does anyone have any other corrections to the January minutes? Hearing none, the January minutes are approved as corrected. Are there any corrections to the February minutes? All right, hearing none, the February minutes are approved as presented. And we will go right into committee reports. Again, I'll just remind everybody, we're truncating the verbal committee reports to 3 that will go on every 3 or 4 month cadence. Yeah, and so that should allow us some more time at the end of the meeting for other items.
But there are written reports.
And there are written reports for everybody. I will say this is that I would like to block out the last half hour of meetings for other items. And I encourage folks to reach out to me if they think that there's items that would be of benefit for discussion here. And we are a little bit behind schedule, but I thought that was a really good conversation. And I think it was important to spend as much time with the counselors they're willing to spend with us. All right, we'll go right to then the officer reports. I will start. And I don't have too much to add. I am having a monthly meeting with our vice president now, which is great. And I met with Loudy and Hendricks recently, who are folks with the city of Portland.
Shelter services.
And I've got a meeting with Mary and maybe you, Sandy, on Friday, which I'm really looking forward to. And we're going to have you on the agenda for next month. And I think that's that's about all I need to talk about. We'll move right on to Peter, which I think has a more
A
substantial.
little bit longer report.
Yeah, longer. There we go.
Wait,
Longer.
we're trying to wrap up by 8.
8:30. Oh, 8, yeah. If we can wrap up by 8, that would be great.
Can you pull up the,
Do you want me to do
in the
Yes,
meeting?
please.
Is that it? What is it called?
It's
Do you
in
know?
the meeting materials.
Yep. Got it.
And it's called, you'll see it. Anyway,
I'll find it.
I have a tiny itty bitty item and a longer one. And the itty bitty one is our bank balances. We have $20,000, almost $900 in Columbia. That's between checking and our operating reserves. We have about $100 in PayPal, and we have $250 in our bottle drop program that we're trying to get out, but we have to update them on our mailing address on our 501c3 application. I don't want to explain that anymore. So most of what the big item for this evening is the budget. And look for, so that's February, March. And then it's the one that says,
This one?
Yep.
that's it, yeah, committees and
Thank you.
projects. Okay, so this is the first time that we've actually built a budget from the ground up, meaning I asked to get budgets from all of the committee and chairs and project leaders. Last year, I just made up a budget based on the previous year. And everyone prepared a budget for me, and thank you so much. It was super helpful. And in the process, was able to have conversations with everyone in more detail about their plans. Let me just explain the layout here. We're not going to go through all the details, but the two columns on the left, the blue column and the dark green. Blue is the actual figures from last year, from 2025. And then the green column is the roll-up of all 15 committees and projects that are going on in under our neighborhood association umbrella. What we will see here is that a lot of our revenue lines are down, projected to be down this year. That's mainly because we had some wonderful windfalls last year. $3,000 came in for the equity committee, $2,000 came in for communications. And they were wonderful surprises, but we don't expect to see them again. We also had a couple of 4-figure donations, just individual donations. It would be lovely to see them again, but unless we do some work to renew them, we are not budgeting for them. On the expense side, you'll see most of our expense lines are projected to be about the same this year as last year. Some will go up a little bit. We have some new cost centers. We have some new expense categories. We're going to be doing a better job on capturing the in-kind donations, which get posted to an in-kind donation revenue line, but then the offset is charged to the line that we would have been paying for if it had not been donated. So it's basically a wash on the spreadsheet, but it does mean that there was budget relief that we were realizing. This is, if we scroll down, what we are forecasting for this year is a deficit budget. We are budgeting to spend more than we are taking in. And it makes me nervous. I'm confident that I'm going to make a motion that we adopt this budget. this is not something that's sustainable over many years or even a few years. But we have had a very stable and adequate bank balance for the last year, in the neighborhood of $20,000 all year. It went up and down by a couple of thousand, but it means that we have some resources that we can spend down in order to help people do what they want to do this year. We're a very young nonprofit, and we are seeing, I think, in really encouraging growth. We're seeing new members, we're seeing new board members, and this is not uncommon for organizations that are growing. They have resources, they can and choose to invest in capacity or in expansion and I think we're at a point now where we have just some fantastic activities. They're popular, they're thriving. We have other groups coming to us and saying, how can I become an M&A committee? And I don't know the answer to that, but
It's on the agenda.
But we've got to figure that out. Anyway, we are, this proposed budget, you'll see at the bottom of the dark green column there is about a $5,600 deficit. And that would put our ending balance for the year at $18,000, which I'm still quite comfortable with. But I'm happy to, and I would encourage, by the way, committee chairs and project managers to take a look at their individual budgets. We've had conversations about most of them, but I want to make sure that I have honored the work that you've put into providing for me, and thank you once again for doing that. I'm happy to answer questions here. David, yes.
The thing that pops out to me is some of our expenses have tripled and quadrupled.
And
I see we have a ravenous appetite for snacks, apparently. That has
Let's see.
that has skyrocketed. Printing and copying 4 times more than we spent last year. What in the world are we going to print?
You know, a lot of that, I believe, is donated, and so it's posted to the printing line because that's being offset by an in-kind donation in the revenue section.
We are printing a number of A-frame signs that we'll be using throughout the year, one for coffee break and one for the M&A meeting. So we can have A-frames out here for people to see and also put them up in the neighborhood the weekend before so people know about them. So we do have some line items for Symbiosis printing for things that we will use each month.
And then that'll be available to use next year and the year after.
Yeah.
I see the biggest expense for printing is an equity committee, $1,100, and I would have to ask Will what those plans are. I think in the budget he presented, he had certain lines called materials, and I didn't know exactly what that was, so I put some of it in printing and some of it into supplies. But it doesn't answer your question about why printing is tripled.
Or what we're snacking on. Well, snacks is because we just did a line item for paying for coffee break with M&A once a month, and I'm assuming that people will show up eventually and that it will grow. So I did kind of
We
bump up.
might need to market that better, that if you come and talk
Well,
to us
we
and
haven't
ask
had any
questions.
Well, and also I've been trying to get the treasurer to allow us to buy the first beer at John's Marketplace. First one's on us at 5, but I'm still fighting him on that. So that's money well spent, David.
No question.
So Peter, am I hearing some fundraising, some grant writing? Like, is there an action on this, or just in terms of a deficit?
I've been encouraging people, as long as I've been treasurer, to think more entrepreneurially and more about fundraising. We have a huge value proposition in this neighborhood through the popularity of our programs. And I just think we're sometimes just too timid to tell people that we know we need help. You can help us to accomplish these things. And also grant, I'm happy to help. I spent a good deal of my career doing grant writing. I'm happy to help anybody who would like to apply for grants or find grant opportunities.
Patrick, you had a question?
Yeah, a similar question. It looks like between contractors and supplies on both years, that seems like it's the bulk of expenditures. And the detail, it looks like there's some detail to the right on the spreadsheet, but is there any possibility of getting a little bit more detail on the
Yeah,
supplies?
most of our contracting expenses are through our trash hauling.
Yeah, so this is Julie. So, and I was just looking at my business case so we're going to be doing a very, very large dumpster day event in late August, the weekend after Multnomah Days. And it's because the city of Portland won't be doing a free dumpster day in Southwest Portland, so we're going to do it. We did it 2 years ago, and after all of learning experiences and we learned a lot, and we still made $2,000. And now we're going to do it probably 3 to 4 times the size. That $4,600 is just for Heiberg's trash cans. And one thing I did not put as a line item was my projected $5,000 income. I use expenses, and I just use the Metro City grant as a known. But my business case, which is not included in this, is that at the recommendation of $25 donations, and the volume that we're looking at, it's fair to say that it'll be an additional $5,000 of revenue to our bottom line, and it is not included in my business case that I gave you, or not included in here.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just thank you for that. I would just suggest or maybe request that on all of these bigger ticket items in the columns that if you click on, click on a row and a column, some detail behind those bigger numbers, just for information, and it's better accounting too if that information is available, because it's a big
like something like anything over $1,000, being able to click on that box and have like a little couple of words on description of what it could be. So
whatever the threshold, 1,000 sounds good.
Comment.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to know.
Yeah,
and it is better accounting too.
Yeah.
Lisa, we got a question in the room, real quick.
So I have a question. So I'm still learning the process and what's going on, but where does the income come from? And like, do you have that information, like the money that's coming in? Where does?
Yeah. Where
is that the revenue, or is that?
Yeah.
And so the revenue that's what's coming in. Okay. All right.
Yeah. The revenue is what's coming in. Expenditures are what's going on.
And last year we had a big surplus of revenue compared to expenditures. Correct, Peter?
Well, we have for the past few years.
Yeah.
This year we're expecting, at least at this point, we're expecting to run a deficit of between $5,000 and $6,000.
And is there a plan for bringing revenue in? Do we have plans? Are these the typical plans, or do we have like a plan? Any plan?
Well, what this budget proposes is that we use the funds we have right now, $20-some thousand, and draw that down by $5,000 to $6,000.
Okay, but I mean, as far as future, like, do we have a planned revenue? Do we have a plan for bringing revenue in, or do we just kind of like whatever happens happens?
I can't tell you how many conversations I've had.
Okay,
You guys have to help me.
We need a.
That sounds like a April agenda item.
Yeah.
So going back to the spendy side, I'm the new kid, or one of the new kids, so I may ask a question that everybody knows. And everybody on this board is a wonderful person working very hard and diligently and scrupulously. But is there oversight? I mean, so I want $5,000 for my committee. And okay, I'm going to spend it really wisely. But does anybody else get to nod and look at that and say, yeah, that is a wise expenditure?
Yeah. That's a terrific question. And part of the reason that I built the budget this way by drawing on all our committee chairs and project leaders is because it's in the bylaws that the board has oversight of committees and the activities.
How do we exercise
And we
that
have,
oversight?
and we don't know what that looks like yet. So what I started with this year is, talk to me, community chairs, talk to me, project leaders, tell me what you have in mind. But this is one of the things I'd love to cover in one of our working sessions, is just board and project leaders, tell us what you want to do and what you have in mind. Is there a revenue shortfall? Do you have fundraising plans? But in meetings that are dominated by guest speakers and committee reports, we have not found the time to have those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
So
like
and that's a biggie.
Yeah. So
That's a bylaw
I guess
thing.
the hope would be like, for example, like Friends of Spring Garden Park, like Sarah and Pam would present to the board.
Exactly.
I want to
Yeah.
spend
Yeah.
$3,000. I plan on making $2,000. Like, do you approve this? And then we would all say like,
Yeah.
go for it.
Right.
And that's like the intent
Yeah.
of what we'd want to do for these committees.
So can we table the motion? Can I
Okay.
state the motion and table it to approval till a
Yeah,
later time?
That's great. I think one of the things we might need to do is if you can annotate this Excel sheet with comments on some of the specific large item ones,
Mhm.
I think we might have to ask the board to do some homework and potentially have some offline questions and answers via email, because it will be hard to go through this as a group in a meeting setting to satisfy all the questions.
Yeah.
Is there an opportunity to do like an office hours or cute, like we can send out reading material in advance? Again, like I don't know what other type of forum we can create, but just to get questions answered
Yeah.
in a different, or come to a coffee chat.
Yeah, let me
Treasurer office hours.
Yeah. I mean, we could make one of the coffee breaks,
Budget.
kind of
Treasurer.
conversation. Or
I think
every email I send out, I say, send me questions or comments or
Yeah.
corrections.
It's so hard to talk money over email, though. That's
Yeah.
the thing. So
Right.
And I'll say I think the goal here would be to have a budget for the year that's like what we're going to project.
Yeah.
If that we can get approval by the board, that gives these groups some latitude within their budget to do their projects. And then if there's a change and Julie needs a second dumpster and it's gonna be another $4,000, then she'll come back and we'll have to make an amendment for that one specific thing as necessary.
Yeah.
But I think the goal would be to get a budget approved. I don't know if we had an approved budget the last few years.
We had one last year.
Okay. Was the first one in a while?
It was the first time we had a budget.
Okay, so
Did we go over or were we in, did we go over when we say two?
But this was,
Lisa, you're gonna be next.
I'll just claim some credit because we had a budget that I made up and it was remarkably accurate. When the
So
actual
we got really lucky.
Yeah, so I'm tempted to go back to that.
Lisa, you have a question?
Yes, from here, the last column I can see is little free puzzle. What else is to the right there of that column?
Can you scroll? Oh,
just a second.
Sorry.
Like it needs to scroll to the left. Okay, equity, land, okay.
On her side.
So as a CAC, there's 4 of us on the Community Advisory Committee for the Safe Rest Village. I've seen a lot of money going to parks. How does the Community Advisory Committee for the Safe Rest Village ask for money to be set aside if we need to help neighbors or do something like that? What would be the process for that? Because I'm seeing a lot of stuff go to the fun stuff. And like I keep telling you guys, we're down here in the trenches. And how do we go about getting help and funding for things we need?
Not fair.
This is another question I'm asked often is how does something become a committee or how does it gain spending authority? And I don't know the answer to that question.
I mean, in
Well-
terms of just the parks for Friends of Spring Garden, for example, we applied for a grant, or we will be applying for a grant to bring a summer free-for-all program. So I think there are other ways in which we're bringing in money to spend money.
Yeah. Spring Garden Park money came over from Sweeney, who inherited like $2,400 or
And the livability $5,000 I created on my own with the different events that we've done fundraising over many years and spending none of it. So that language kind of hackles me a little bit
Yeah.
because, and I'm willing to gift some of this to other committees in need. So if we understood what, if a business case was proposed for a need in the community, I'd be open to listening to what it is.
Well, so the question is, all these neighbors have had to invest in cameras and spending money on and fencing and enforcing ourselves against problems, or these cameras are $300 and $400 each just to have a security camera to deal with the problem. So I'm just wondering, is that something that would fall under getting help from the neighborhood association?
I'll just go out on a limb and say that wouldn't. But I think that you'd be welcome to, if the CAC wanted to put together a budget of things that they wanted to spend money on. I think between you and the other folks in that committee, I think that's something that y'all could do. I don't think a camera for a single residential house is gonna pass, but I could imagine some expenses that the CAC group could put together that would be totally reasonable too. So if you're like, hey, we want to have an event where we go, I don't know, do something or another, and Julie probably has some good ideas of ways to go and have everybody go pick up trash in front of the MSRB or something. I don't know. So, okay, so we're going to table this. Everybody has homework to do, and we go to Julie, secretary report.
All I'll say is that if we're considering doing a booth, so there's Earth Day in the village. Some years it's really big, some years it's a little bit more loosey-goosey. The Business Association asked the Neighborhood Association if we'd like to share 2 tables on the 18th for Earth Day. And I was going to bring buckets and grabbers and let people go nuts. If anybody wanted to represent the M&A, I'll only be able to do it's from 9 to 2. I'll be there for 2 hours. If anybody's interested in sitting at a booth and saying hello to people and representing M&A, yeah, of course. Thank you so much. Then just our big April 4th Solve event is coming up. I do have the QR code here. Lots of city leaders, including Zimmerman and our D4C reps, as well as other city leaders, will be in attendance. It's going to be really fun, fabulous prizes. I definitely encourage you to sign up and then tell your friends about it and come and have a good time on April 4th.
All right. Thank you so much, Julie. We're going to have only 2 standing committees report to us, and we are already behind. So if you could be as brief as possible. First up is going to be D4C. Beth?
Hi. I could be very brief. The District 4 has a new executive director, Carly Barrick, and I had a hour-long phone conversation with her. She's been reaching out mostly by phone to every neighborhood association in the district. And it was a very informative call. I think she's energetic. She's fairly young, and she has good, fresh, new ideas. And I'm really looking forward to working with her. And hopefully she'll come to one of our meetings sometime once she gets more settled. And then we also have a new president, Todd Zarnitz, and he's just attended or just been around for 1 meeting so far. So we'll see how that goes with him. It was a good meeting. And that's all I can say for now. Oh, Julie, I have an answer to your question. I'll be emailing you that in the morning. Well, my morning.
Thank you so much, Beth. Sarah, communications?
Yes, we often receive emails with questions, comments, events. There's a thing coming up. Can you put it on your calendar? And so, as a way to streamline those requests and be able to triage it behind the scenes, whether it's being added to the website, to the newsletter, to our social medias, we have a new form that I am kindly asking everyone to use. It's in, pilot mode, so do let me know if there's any feedback, anything missing. But the intent, again, is just to make sure that we're capturing all the information that we need to help push your information out into the public. So test it out, let me know how it works, and that's all I've got.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. I am striking from the agenda discussion of mission statement, but I would like, Peter, can you give us the 30-second recap of what is happening behind the scenes and then where we're going to go?
Yeah, 30 seconds. Somebody time me. So about half a dozen people have contributed ideas to what a mission statement might look like. David is one, thank you. Julie, others who I'm insulting through omission, Sarah, Peter. But there are currently 3 drafts, 3 versions of a mission statement. They are posted in one of the meeting materials, and I would encourage you to look at them, to comment on them, to tell us whether you love them or hate them, and if you'd like to do some more wordsmithing, have at it. But and they are posted, and as far as I can tell, they are the best 3 that have floated to the surface. And I don't know, do we vote on a mission statement?
Yes, we will have a mission statement by the end of the summer.
Okay.
That gets voted on and approved.
I like that.
Good, and that's by July meeting, so we're down to the handful.
To clarify feedback, do you want people to email you, add a comment?
Sure.
It gets a little dicey sometimes, so I just want to make sure everyone knows how to chime in.
Yes, people may email me with their comments.
Okay.
All right. Beth, question?
Yes, would you please email those in as an attachment so that they are. Just email them to the board.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay.
Thanks.
On to committee development. So, as Peter alluded to earlier, there is, I think we have room to improve on how our committees are organized and structured, including having board representation on each and every committee, ideally. Who wants to start with this one? Shelby does.
What am I starting with?
I don't know.
What are you
How can we improve how our committees are organized?
Am I taking over from Tad's request of the email that he started with this request 3 weeks ago?
Sure.
Okay.
I wanted to just, instead of having there be 100 emails going back and forth about all this, I would like to use some of this time to discuss.
Yeah, Sarah and I actually chatted about this recently a little bit on our website meeting a couple weeks ago. And so kind of in tandem, we were talking about getting the website committees cleaned up a little bit and then having kind of ladder up committees, or I guess like departments under certain committees. So I think a good example is like parks and events. We talked about Tom joining and taking over the community events. Parks and events kind of go together because we host events at our parks, and so we would have parks and events and then ladder up the Spring Garden Friends, Gabriel Park Friends, Village Park, and then just ongoing events like Multnomah Days, things like that we partner with the Business Association with. So I think just more of a streamlining of broad categories would make sense. And then each subset has like a ladder up to that chair, and then that chair can then do these quarterly reports and things like that. That's the way I would think it makes the most sense, but I know our conversation with Tad, I don't know if it went anywhere other than we need to have that meeting still.
Right.
It's just because I'm sitting next to you.
Hello.
I agree with everything you just said.
Okay.
And to your statement, Mr. President, I think ideally is not the right word. I think it should be mandatory that, and I think the board person on that should be the chair of the committee. And whether we bring people in onto the board because of, but it should, absolutely, a committee shouldn't be separate from the board. And I think it's just common sense.
And I think like to Lisa's point, like the CAC, I know that's like, it's like a subset, an advisory committee. Like I even get confused on like, does that mean it's advisory to us or advisory to them? Like, how do these kind of like, even like Beth is like the D4C, it's like, where does all that kind of fit into the broader board umbrella and like M&A umbrella? So
The CAC has appeared on some of our agendas as a special committee.
correct.
And that's terminology that is never
Doesn't
What
exist.
is that?
anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Except from an
Exactly right.
And there's subcommittees that are not chaired necessarily, and
Yeah.
they can be of any ad hoc nature, but the
Having some
committees
structure to
themselves,
them, I think is important.
Would there be, I think it could be beneficial to have a reduction in number of committees.
Yes,
Probably.
exactly what was like
Without-
on the draft website, like headers that we were working on. We streamlined a lot of the
Okay.
groups. Like I was saying, kind of like the parks and events is now merged a little bit if we're thinking about adopting that model.
So can we talk about do you have that draft up, Sarah, that we could?
I mean,
It's not official.
Well, I would love to hash it out.
Sure.
Okay, governance. Does that need to be its own thing?
I don't know.
Can that go into a bucket?
Mhm.
Well, here's the list of committees that I believe we might have.
Okay.
Governance, District 4 Coalition, Livability, which contains the Friends of the Parks group, Equity, Transportation and Land Use, Public Safety, Communications. Those I have as standing committees, and then I have a non-standing committee, which is the MSRB Small CAC.
Is governance on your list?
Yes.
First one.
So
say
is
this
that
again? You said governance?
governance, District 4 Coalition,
Mhm.
Livability, Friends of Spring Garden Park, Friends of Village Park, Friends of Gateway Park, Equity, Transportation and Land Use, Public Safety, Communication. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 standing committees.
I see some commonality between governance, D4C, and communications, because they're more administrative in what they're doing. Is that maybe we have some sort of like M&A committee with 3 subcommittees under it? Or does that just move things around and not make anything any more efficient?
I think that just moves things around.
Yeah.
We can also have liaisons, a person who works with D4. We can have a person who works with something in the city government. It doesn't have to be a committee, they could be a liaison.
I've never viewed D4C as a committee. We have a liaison in Beth, and thank you so much, Beth, for all you do in that position. But it's not a working group really, unless you disagree, Beth.
Beth has her hand up.
Yeah, Beth.
It's regarding that.
Yep.
Look at that little hand, that's so adorable.
Hey, Beth, do you have a question or a comment?
I think she's left.
You're muted too.
She put up her hand meaning stop.
She's saying, out of here.
Okay, I do like that. So Beth, go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. The D4C was never a committee. I don't know how that ever started being put on the agenda as part of committee reports. It's just a person, me, who has been appointed by the president to represent our neighborhood association at D4C.
Our first liaison.
All right, and in a way, I do believe that the MSRV small CAC is just our 4 liaisons from the neighborhood association that serve on the big CAC. Is that correct?
That's my view.
We could appoint one of those to be the liaison who reports to the committee.
Or they pass that around?
They rotate.
So that could be in a different part, that could be liaison reports on the agenda and not necessarily a committee. So.
Palomina says, or Paloma, sorry, says correct what you're saying.
Okay, yeah. All right, so that is not a committee, a standing committee, nor a special committee. It's just 4 representatives of the MNA on the big CAC, and then they are sharing the liaison role and passing it along. And we can revisit that because we'll have basically 3 new members and only 1 remaining member come June. So, okay, great. So we got rid of 2 committees right there. Any other ways we can combine? Shelby and I talked about combining transportation and land use because that mimics the way D4C is organized.
Public safety and livability.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I would have said you two. I'll take you, but transportation and safety.
Yeah, I mean, both of those, I think they both have, like, most of the stuff that I'm doing is more livability related than safety related. I have done some traffic stuff too, but
I have no problem with that.
I don't even understand transportation. I mean, safety is a word I understand, and I get what that committee would do. What is transportation?
I think the transportation and especially how it ties in with land use ends up being a piece that where the city gets input from MNA on prioritization of transportation funding and where it should go, and that also gets tied into land use. I don't know if there's a great example right now in our neighborhood, but for instance, the dairy farm that's getting developed and how that's going to interplay with upgrading roads is a huge, huge thing that other neighborhoods are dealing with. And that something like that would fall right in transportation and land use group. So, and those 2 are combined at the D4C level. And the reason is land use and transportation are like married. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think one of the other advantages of having fewer committees is that, so the only reason I have public safety committee is because it was vacant. And so I was just like, I would like to do something on the M&A, and I guess I'll take his chair. And I can do that. I can do that work without ever being a chair, and that would actually be easier. Like just being able to join a committee rather than having to be a chair of a committee would be better.
We've talked about the necessity, and I agree that a board, a committee chair needs to be a board member. I would like to see an expectation. I don't think this has ever been codified, but that every board member serve on some committee. Mm-hmm. But another question that comes up is, can a committee have members, committee members that are not M&A members?
I believe yes.
Okay.
Because they are members of the community, but not necessarily.
M&A members, you'll be board members, right?
I mean, M&A members.
M&A,
general membership. Right. Can any Joe or Mary serve on a committee if they're interested in that topic?
So
to be answered.
So if like on my livability committee, somebody in Hillsdale would like to
help out with your solve.
We were because I would collaborate with them all the time. I would like to say yes to that member. Of course, I'm on the board, and there are other M&A members. But if somebody wanted to join, I would not stop somebody because of especially I work on businesses that are on the other side of Barber. Mm-hmm. So I would hope.
And theoretically, if there was a friends group with a board member and an M&A member, and then they had people from just the neighborhood join as committee members but weren't M&A members, then I think that's similar to Julie's case.
You could live just north of Vermont and want to be part of Friends of Spring Garden Park. Right?
Yeah. Well, there's a whole Friends of Gabriel Park that wants to become a committee. Yeah. And I think most of its members live in Ayers.
Gabriel Park.
But we'll take them, won't we?
Yeah.
So how do
I think it makes sense, and I think that's the onus on the chair of the committee, who is a board member, to make sure that its membership, its committee membership is functioning in a way that benefits the design goals of that committee. So, yeah, I don't see that.
Similarly,
Okay.
so for Spring Garden Park, our stewardship events, because they're run in partnership with Parks and Rec, anyone can sign up. We've had people come from the east side, north side, whatnot. They're coming to do an M&A Friends of event, but it's for 2 hours, right? And I assume livability are the same. So it's kind of gray zones, right? In terms of community neighborhood.
But I think what's happened kind of organically is people who want to join us in the activities we're doing we're welcoming them, and that's, I think, the way it should be.
Especially
as long as the committee chair is a woman.
Yeah, so maybe that's the...
I'm wondering if there was a way to recognize a liaison position to the Multnomah neighborhood emergency team. I'm the team lead, and we've got about close to 40 volunteers in the neighborhood, and we've got a community emergency preparedness pod program that involves about 100 households and 8 pods. We've been working on that for the last year, and we've enjoyed sharing booth space with you folks during Earth Day and Multnomah Days and that type of thing.
And Tom Moore is de facto liaison with the Business Association.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, liaisons are a good thing.
I mean, I would love to recognize Multnomah Net officially, especially since we don't have a specific emergency preparedness, and why would we want to duplicate when you all are doing such a great job?
The closest alignment is with safety, but PBIM's directive, Program Bureau of Emergency Management, is that neighborhood emergency teams should not be confused with neighborhood watch.
Yeah.
No.
Two separate functions.
Separate.
Two separate functions.
Should we make a motion for next month to consider adding Multnomah Net as an M&A community liaison, or is
Net wouldn't be the liaison, the board member would be the liaison to Net.
Yeah.
That hurts my head, okay.
Yeah. But if it could be recognized that there is a liaison position to interface with Multnomah Net.
That would give that organization the conduit to give us information or requests or anything else.
All right. Does it have to be a board member?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Andrew, do you want to be a board member?
Yeah.
No.
How many board members are there? How do you choose them?
Right now we have 11, and I think there's a vacancy. So if someone wants to, 2 vacancies. So if someone wants to volunteer,
Well, what does that even mean? And
yeah,
like
it means you get a lot more emails.
So no interest.
And I do think yes.
To answer that question in another way, the minimum in the bylaws is 3 board members.
Okay.
And the maximum is 15.
15, right.
Okay.
So we have 4 board openings.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. So real quick, I'm going to summarize here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 committees: governance, livability, equity, transportation and land use, communications. For those committees, I would like to have a board member that is leading them. For governance, I have Tad. For livability, Sarah. Julie, oh gosh. Julie, perfect. Equity is Will. Land use and transportation is Shelby. And communications is Sarah. There we go.
Me.
And now we have liaisons. D4C liaison, Beth. Right now I have the CAC liaison. I believe in my notes I have Will. Is that correct?
It's the board.
I wonder if when we do this new recruiting for the 4 CAC liaison folks, if one of those 4 should be a board member. Do you have an opinion on that? Or you don't think that's necessary as long as we have a board person that interfaces with them?
Well, I got a little confused before when you described how the four of them relate to the board now. They're not, any of them are board members?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And Will was assigned, I believe, by Moses a long
Will
time
and
ago
Moses were dual liaisons
to that
to
group.
the
We
CAC.
could have a liaison to those
Okay.
four.
Okay. So right now, Will is, my guess is Will would entertain another board member volunteering to step into that spot. I'll let him speak for himself. And then we're looking for a board liaison for Multnomah and Nets.
I'll do that.
Great.
Great.
Oh, great.
Aw.
David. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to close the chapter on this. I want to talk real quick about visual accessibility, but we're not going to do 8 minutes. And I want to do a longer talk about visual accessibility down the road. In the short term, I think we all learned, I learned something that linking a document is not as good as throwing the contents of what's in that link into an email. Sarah, is that?
To the body of the email.
The body of the
To
email.
the body of the email.
And Beth's here, so if you can confirm that was what happened, Beth, go ahead.
Whoops.
Go ahead, Beth.
Did you want me to say something?
Oh, we're
No,
just,
if you want, we're talking about visual accessibility, and we talked about instead of linking
what
document,
what does that mean?
But
Visual
also-
I know
Yeah.
what the term means. Visual accessibility. It makes no sense to me.
Define it, I don't understand.
So-
Oh, sorry, just
Readable.
accessibility when it comes to emails.
Email readable by someone who's visually impaired. Visually challenged.
we're trying to confirm the best practice for sharing information via email. There have been some challenges. So rather than linking to a doc in Google Drive, there's attaching it as a PDF, no screenshots in an email message, but more so if you copy and paste your text into Gmail specifically, that seems to be the best practice.
So is this just regarding emails?
For right now, I think that's been our
For
biggest
right
challenge.
now, and then I do want to have accessibility as a line, as one of our agenda items, but we have run ourselves out of time. But I do want to
So
just make sure that everybody's doing best practice, at least in email.
Okay. Okay, if I may say quickly, the best practice is to send documents by email before you put them in the Google folder. They're accessible until you put it's a glitch. It's a computer, it's a software glitch. If you just send documents first by email and then put them in the folder later, it's the same document, but it's accessible in the email, and as soon as it gets put in a folder, it becomes inaccessible. It's a very weird thing.
So if it's a Word document that's attached to an email, that will be accessible.
That's accessible.
Great. That's great to know.
How about PDFs, are they accessible?
It depends on how they were created. If you create them not as a graphical image, then they are accessible. You'll see choices when you go to create a PDF, whether it will be graphical or not. If you make it not graphical, then it should be accessible. Most are accessible nowadays.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, thanks for that.
I'm happy to help.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to help with any of that. I'm happy to be the tester.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. I'll just say anything else we gotta discuss today before we adjourn.
There's the announcement. I just want to bring
Excellent.
it through for the new M&A for CAC
Perfect.
members or starting term in June. We have some physical information here in the room. It's online as well. So if you are curious to learn more, email Will at equity.mnapdx.org to learn about the process. Interest is due March 31st.
And there is a little bit of segmentation with that. Two are supposed to be, or there are 3 being replaced. One of them should be as close to the MSRV as possible. The other 2 can be from a little bit further away, but within the neighborhood.
All right, any new business we need to discuss? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thank you all so very much. We'll see
Thank
you
you, Stephanie.
April 14th, I believe.
Yes.
All right.
And that's, are you April 14th, Cindy? Yes.
Excellent. Thank you all.
Good job.
All right.